Hey, Kaylee dog. What game are we going to do today? Are we going to look at Pokemon Puzzle League for the Nintendo 64? Okay, let's do that.
Motherfucking Tuesday! Wow! I'm ready! Are you ready? Are you ready? Going to DJ's in my car! Be out! Woo!
The Nintendo 64 is the home to many great games: Super Mario 64, Wave Race 64, GoldenEye, Banjo, Diddy Kong Racing, the list goes on. With a library of games this great, it becomes almost impossible to pick a single game to feature in this episode, but one obvious choice stood out above all the others. 3 words here: Pokemon Puzzle League. Yeah, ho, you heard that right. A puzzle game is one of the best games on the Nintendo 64, and it feels like nobody talks about it, so let's talk about it. Pokemon Puzzle League is a game I learned existed after I finished modding my Nintendo 64 about a week and a half ago. I never heard about its release back when I had an N64 when the console was relevant in the mid to late 90s, which is too bad, because this is a game I definitely would have loved back then, but it's also not surprising as this was released at the tail end of the Nintendo 64's lifespan. This isn't going to be a review so much this time around, as I think it would be impossible to hide my love for this series throughout this video, so this is more to serve as a spotlight, hoping to bring this game to people's attention who might not have heard of it, since somehow I never heard of it until recently, and since this one also just got a release on the Switch Online's expansion pack a few weeks ago as of this recording, there's no better time than the present to discuss a title that I think a lot of Pokemon and puzzler fans may have missed. Before even playing this one, I knew I was going to really like it, and I did, so there's my opinion on it. This game rules, and I've already sunk many hours into it, and if you like Tetris Attack on the Super Nintendo, or Planet Puzzle League on the DS, games that I am a huge fan of, especially Tetris Attack, which is one of my favorite games of all time, and will be compared to this one frequently in this video, you should not pass this up, as its core gameplay mechanics are almost exactly the same, but I'm going to take this opportunity to detail the different modes you can play in this one, the gameplay mechanics and rules, and other various aspects of the game worth discussing. Buckle up, Buttercup, because this is going to be a funky adventure.
So I f***ing ran up behind him with a hatchet, smash, smash, smash. Yeah.
Now, as far as I'm aware, this is the only official Pokemon game not to get a release in Japan for whatever reason, and I'd like to just say, hello you little nasties, and welcome to the channel. I, of course, am your host, the Nasty Bedazzler. Thank you for joining me on this very special episode. Now, Pokemon Puzzle League was developed by Nintendo Software Technologies, and it was released in North America in September of 2000, and it was released in Europe in March of 2001. It also enjoyed a release on the Wii Virtual Console in 2008. Still not in Japan, though, because Nintendo hates Japan. Now, very recently, this game was released on the Switch Online expansion, which, as of this recording, was a month ago, July 15th, 2022. Now, with all of these options to play it, I'm surprised this game has eluded me up to this point, but I found it now, and we're going to be taking a look at it in this video. When you first start the game, you're treated to an FMV animated cutscene that looks to be made by the same crew that made the anime series, if that sort of thing tickles your fancy. This is surprising to see on the Nintendo 64 and in this kind of quality. The story goes, Ash is informed there is a new puzzle league and is summoned to compete in it, and that's all the setup you need for a game like this, and thank God there's not more. From there, you're on the overworld map, and this is where you select from multiple gameplay modes, and this is also where the similarities to Tetris Attack are very apparent if you're familiar with that game. In fact, Pokemon Puzzle League is essentially an upgraded version of that one with the exact same modes, with a fresh coat of paint and a few new unexpected mechanics, like the 3D puzzles, and from what I gather, it also improved the computer AI, though I didn't really notice much of a difference with the AI when I was playing, probably because I was too busy kicking its ass. I'll be real straight here, I'm pretty goddamn great at these games, and I didn't find myself losing that often, but before diving into what the different modes are, and gloating aside, let's first talk about how you actually play this game so the rest of this video isn't confusing as hell. First and foremost, this game fucks, but if you strip away the sexiness of the presentation in Tetris Attack or Planet Puzzle League, or this. What makes up the bones of this series is essentially a tile matching game, though this isn't some Candy Crush bullshit. This is light years ahead of that garbage and infinitely more fun. Nothing against Candy Crush, it just sucks and I hate it, and you should too. The concept here is incredibly simple and easy to understand, but I'll probably suck at explaining it anyway. But essentially you control a cursor that is a set of brackets, and any tiles that are in those brackets can be switched with each other with the press of a button. Look at the footage I've kindly recorded for you, and you'll get an idea. And you can only move tiles on a horizontal plane, and when 3 or more tiles line up either horizontally or vertically, there's no diagonals in this game. The tiles are cleared, and depending on what gameplay mode you're enjoying at the time, certain things can be accomplished by clearing more than 3 tiles at once. This is where, if you were an asshole, you would drop the line easy to learn, difficult to master, but it would be fitting. Like most puzzle games, the concepts can be very easy to grasp, but in actual execution is where it gets tricky, which is exactly what I just said 5 seconds ago, but rephrased it just to drive the point home. When tiles are cleared, all the remaining tiles above will fall to fill the void. If you are able to plan ahead, this is where combos can be created, because when the falling tiles land in a way where 3 or more tiles match once again, those will also clear, and you can create a chain effect, and the bigger the combo, the better your results. Again, I will talk about this when I cover the game modes, but in most instances, creating combo chains is the key to survival in every mode aside from puzzle mode. Now that you hopefully have a basic understanding of the core mechanics, let's go over the different modes, and I'll cover Stadium mode last, since I think it is the meat and potatoes of the entire game, or the Edward and Bella for you Twilight fans out there, but the other modes are a worthwhile addition and worth your time. The first mode I'll go over is Puzzle Mode, since this is almost entirely different from the rest of the game, aside from the way you clear tiles by matching 3 or more and planning out combos, since that is the heart of what this mode is. I can see some finding this frustrating and not enjoying it, since it wastes no time getting difficult as hell, and you really gotta think your moves through, otherwise you're going to lose consistently. It's also the only mode where quick reflexes and the ability to think ahead in a pinch don't really apply, unless you're trying to beat a previous run time-wise. In this mode, you are presented with a stack of tiles arranged in a preset way. There's a move counter on the top right, which lets you know how many times you can move tiles around before the round ends. If you clear the tiles in the predetermined amount of moves, you complete the stage. If you don't, you lose and have to try again. There are unlimited continues in the modes that allow them, and that applies here, so you could beat any mode on a single playthrough if you wanted to. There's a timer in the left-hand corner that is always counting up, even after you lose or beat a stage and move on to the next one, so you'll be able to compare your current performance with an older one through the entire set of puzzles. There are a ton of stages in this mode, likely hundreds, and like I said, these get insanely difficult after the first couple. I am a really big fan of this mode, and I will come back to this and beat it eventually, as I might have been one of the only people who beat Puzzle Mode in the original Tetris Attack, as I milked that game for all it was worth. Because it's awesome. The next mode I'll be taking a look at is Line Clear mode. In this mode, you need to clear a predetermined line of tiles. Eventually, you'll reach a point where there is a visible white line between tiles that will come up from the bottom after you've cleared enough of the tiles. There's no indication of how many lines you need to clear before the line becomes visible, so you need to be vigilant and on point with your moves until it appears and you can beat the stage. Once you get the level of the tiles below this line, you will complete that round, and if the top of your tiles exceeds the top of your playfield, you lose, and that holds true for every other mode in this game. There's a story with this mode that centers on the main Pokemon villains. I don't know their names because I don't care, and they're stealing Pokemon at a spa and you need to rescue them. I'm obviously not a big fan of the franchise and can't say much more about it, but there you go. As you play through, the stages get longer and faster, so finding that white line and getting the tiles below it will become more and more difficult, and this is where clearing more than 3 tiles at a time or creating chain combos will come in to save your ass. Whenever you clear more than 3 tiles or execute combos, the game will initiate a temporary stop, which prevents the tiles from moving up further while you plan out your next moves. You can see in the top right status section next to this Monostat 1-shaped ovule-looking motherfucker named Jigglypuff whether or not the gameplay is currently stopped or moving at normal speed. This will save your life later on in the game and probably cure your yeast infection, and it becomes essential to actively be executing combos or clearing 4 or more tiles at a time. This mode also later introduces the 3D aspects of the game, which is what sets this one apart from Tetris Attack and Planet Puzzle League. This is a 360 playing field with 3 or 4 times the amount of tiles, and you need to be constantly moving around the ring and clearing these tiles or you will lose. This takes some getting used to at first, and it did take me a few rounds until I felt comfortable with this new setup. The game can be ruthless once you reach this point, just like any shmup I've played on this channel. If you stop moving when you begin the 3D rounds, you will lose insanely fast, but aside from the additional tiles and now moving around a ring instead of a fixed playing field, the goal remains the same to clear these tiles until they are all under one line that comes up from the bottom. There are also random boss encounters in this mode, and I wasn't ready for it and lost immediately. These do not affect your run though, and you can continue on as if it never happened if you lose, and I really couldn't tell you what happens when you beat this, however I assume nothing. These boss battles are no joke when it comes to difficulty, and the speed of the game is at ludicrous speed, while you try to chain combos and take down your opponent's life bar. I hardly made a dent when I got to it because I wasn't even sure what was going on until I lost about 8 seconds into it. That's line clear mode. It's fun, and like puzzle mode, I'll also return to and complete this one because it's a good time. And the last real mode I'll dive into briefly before stadium mode is the endless mode. Since I just covered line mode, this is going to be quick as the mechanics are the same aside from the fact there is no clear line. This mode continues on until you lose, much like our real lives, and as time goes on, the speed of the game moves up. The same time stop mechanic is also in play here, so clearing more than 3 tiles at once and stringing together chains and combos will see the stack of tiles temporarily freeze, which gives you more time to plan and clear more tiles. There are also options here from the start that are not available in line clear mode. You can control the speed of the game from the outset and start there, and you can also choose whether or not you want to play the 2D or the 3D style of tiles. Finally, you can choose between easy, medium, and hard, and this really impacts the gameplay. Easy has the least amount of tile variations. For example, in easy mode, you might only have square, heart, and green circle tiles you have to work with, which makes it easier to string together 3 or more tiles or create combos. As you go up in difficulty, more and more block designs like triangle or diamond are introduced, which makes things way more difficult to get anything done while sifting through all of them to match them up. Aside from these additions, this mode is straightforward, and I think you get the point. You play until you lose. Again, much like our pathetic, sad lives. This is probably my least favorite mode. It's still fun, but just like Endless and Tetris Attack, I played this one the least simply because the only goal is to not die, and I already have to do that consistently in real life. So I lied earlier, saying I was going on to stadium mode now. I suppose I'll mention practice mode real quick for those that are actually into learning how to play. I was going to skip it just because I know I'm already the shit at this game, but fuck it, I'll mention this briefly. If you don't know how to play, this mode will tell you all you need to know about combos, stopping time, and general gameplay, which I've already covered here, so you don't really need it, but this will at least walk you through it and show you what's going on as you play through tutorial puzzles. Honestly, this mode is probably better at teaching you how to play this game than this video is, but I'd rather you just watch the video since I'm infinitely more entertaining and handsome. There's all there is to say about this mode. Check it out if you still don't know how to play, and if you've never played this before and you're only watching this video, you probably don't. Stadium mode, here we go. This is the same as verse CPU mode in Tetris Attack, and what I think is the highlight of these games. This is also the mode you'll be playing if you want to do 2-player competitive matches, which are insanely fun and obviously the best way to play this, but if you are playing solo, this mode is also a real treat. Just like with Endless mode, you get the option to choose your difficulty, but that's it for your pre-game options, though it's worth noting there are also 2 hidden difficulty modes that extend beyond hard mode, which is V mode and S mode, which probably stands for very hard and super hard, but I have absolutely no idea. Not sure what those mean, but I can tell you that they are borderline impossible, and all that shit I said earlier about being amazing at this game goes right out the window. I played S hard, which is as bananas as the game gets, and the first opponent mopped the floor with me. When the game gets this difficult, that's where the flaws in the N64 D-pad begin to really shine through, but I'll cover that in a later section of this video. After you choose your difficulty and sit through a brief Street Fighter style versus screen and get some taunting from your opponent, you're asked to choose which Pokemon you wish to battle your opponent with. The Pokemon you choose here does not make any difference in gameplay, it only changes the backdrop of your playing field, so it doesn't matter what you pick. Losing with that Pokemon also has no effect, unlike in Tetris Attack, where a loss with any other character aside from Yoshi will forfeit that character and they will be unable to play in future rounds. I kinda wish this was different, or at least you had the option to make it so lost Pokemon were gone until you get a final game over, but whatever. There's no real stakes when it comes to losing these rounds. It would be nice if there were, but fine, I'll live. So just pick whatever and start the round, it doesn't matter. When the round begins, the screen is split. You are on the left-hand side and your opponent is on the right. The key here is to beat the ever-loving shit out of your opponent by executing as many combos as possible. When a combo chain has completed, a slab of a given size, depending on your combo you created, will drop on your opponent, and your opponent can do the same to you. These can be cleared by matching tiles that are directly touching any of these bricks, and you can usually clear multiple stacked bricks at once, as long as they are touching each other, unless there's a metal slab between them, which I'll cover in a moment. Once these are cleared, these bricks will slowly turn into more tiles from right to left and then fall onto your existing tiles. If you are quick on the controller, you can line up tiles underneath these bricks as they slowly clear and reveal what tiles will be coming down, and any tiles that land and clear will count as a combo, and some of these will be sent back to your opponent as more bricks. Did I even explain that okay? Because I don't even know how to put that into words, but if you've been watching the footage I painstakingly recorded for you, you probably see what I'm talking about. Occasionally, silver exclamation point tiles will appear, and clearing these will send metal slabs over to your opponent, and these will stop the clearing reaction of any touching bricks they currently have. I'll try to explain this as simply as possible. Any bricks that are below the metal slab will clear, and any above the metal slab will stay as they are. You or your opponent will then need to clear the metal slab separately before then being able to clear any bricks that sit above it. All this serves to slow down you or your opponent, waste time while you continuously clear bricks that have been sent over. When the top of the bricks goes over the top line of the play field, that person will lose and the opponent will win. Unlike in Tetris Attack, where you or your opponent needs to be the first to win 2 rounds in a match, in Pokemon Puzzle League it's a one and done scenario, which makes the game slightly easier in that way. There are 14 opponents to play against in normal mode, and as you battle your way through them, you earn medals, then you complete the game. This mode is a blast to play through, and it's one I'll return to the most. So there's a breakdown of all the different modes for you that you can play through, and there's quite a lot of content here. If you're going to be playing this on the Nintendo 64 or the Switch Online expansion, I think it's worth your money. I'm not really sure how the Switch expansion works, but regardless, it's probably worth your money. As far as I know, that's just like $15 or something a year to get this game for that price. That's a good deal. Now that those modes are out of the way, let's talk about the sound of the game, and then we'll talk about the graphics and the aesthetics, and then we'll just talk about some of the controls, then we'll wrap this little bad boy up. The sound here is good with clear voices throughout the entire game, and the sounds are also exactly what you would expect, especially if you're familiar with Tetris Attack, as it is all very similar here.
Keep on trying. Keep on trying.
I think one aspect of this game that is a bit of a downgrade from Tetris Attack is the music. That game is some of the best on the Super Nintendo, and while the music in Pokemon Puzzle League is passable, it doesn't hold a candle to that game. There's nothing memorable about it, and though given the nature of the game, you won't be focusing on it too much, but it still sucks that Nintendo couldn't be bothered to give this a comparable soundtrack to that of Tetris Attack. Still, there's so much going on, and the game is mostly pretty frantic, so a majority of the time you probably won't even notice it, and that's most likely why Nintendo half-assed it here. Everything else in the sound department is spot on. Even the opening FMV sequence has voices and sound that are crystal clear, and some of the best on the console. The graphics are very good, but also given the type of game this is, it isn't going to blow anyone away. I find the look of it incredibly charming, and I will give it credit for being one of the more colorful N64 titles out there. I remember a lot of titles on this console having dark and dingy graphics, and this is a total contrast to that. For the most part, all of the graphical choices here work perfect in my opinion. The character art is spot on and looks ripped right out of the anime, and I can't find anything to fault this game for when it comes to the look of it. Overall, I'd say the presentation here is above average and top tier when compared to other games on the Nintendo 64. Easily my biggest complaint with this game is the controls, and it's probably not even the fault of the game so much as it's probably more my fault. Now, the only controller I have to play this with is the Tribute 64 from Retrobit, which is a pretty badass controller if you ask me. But the biggest problem I have here is that once the game gets into the later levels and the speed really starts to ramp up, I found myself on this D-pad making a lot more mistakes than what I'm used to, and that's me comparing my play with Tetris Attack on Super Nintendo. And with that controller, I know what I'm capable of when it comes to this style of game. So yeah, a lot of the fucking mistakes I were making is very frustrating, and it's due to this D-pad. I'm gonna go into this a little bit further in the next segment, but again, this probably isn't the fault of the game, but keep this in mind because novices, if you are using this controller, or maybe even the Nintendo 64 original controller, you might be running into this same issue. Unfortunately, I did not have an original controller at the time of recording this footage, but specifically because of this game, I did purchase what appeared to be a near-mint original controller off eBay, only to find that it's a generic controller once I received it, but despite the D-pad being a little stiff, I did find it worked better than the wireless Retrobit. Taking all of this into consideration and currently playing the game with what I've got, Tetris Attack on the Super Nintendo currently runs circles around Pokemon Puzzle League in the control department, and with that console I am using the 8BitDo SM30 controller, which I think is no longer manufactured, but is an excellent wireless controller if you're ever in the market for one. You can get one on eBay for a high price, but kinda worth it. That's all I've got to say about the controls. I had a bit of a tough time with it, but it's not the fault of the game, so like, whatever. And there you have it. That's everything you can ever hope to know about Pokemon Puzzle League and then some. Really, I think featuring this game first for my newly modded and beautiful Japanese limited edition N64 was the brightest idea I've ever had. And really, there's a lot in this package to appreciate. All the modes included here are a good time. And really, as a puzzle game, it just doesn't get much better than this. Not to mention, it's even more fun if you've got someone to play it with, which I don't because I've got 0 friends. I think too, with the addition of this game on the Switch, there's no better time to get into this if you missed it the first and second time around like I did. Even though I'm playing it on the N64, I imagine it's essentially the same on the Switch, so do it. If this type of game appeals to you, I consider this a must-play, so go for it. And what do you guys think about this nasty little nugget? Have you played it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? And what about Tetris Attack or Planet Puzzle League? Have you played those? Do you love me? Do you hate them? Let me know your thoughts, and let me just say thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Congratulations! You've won the Boulder Badge!
Dude, that guy was fucking cooked out, man. Like, he's beyond howley. Like, I don't even see any breath in him, you know what I'm saying?